Big news in Tesla world. Yes, Tesla just had the Shanghai Auto Show at which they chose not to attend. But despite that, the Model Y is a big hit in China. And with all this bad news, good news, the stock somehow tends to keep rising days in a row. Well, maybe not today, but the 6 previous days. And then because of all that, our good friends at CNN have declared the end of the world, as they so often do. I'm joined with Herbert from Brighter, who also helps me understand these days of Armageddon in ways that really help me sleep at night, which is terrible because I enjoy sleeping during the day. That's what I do for fun. Welcome, Herbert. Thank you so much. And I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. So yeah, we've got 4 really fantastic news stories here. This one surprised me. When I went to the Shanghai Auto Show, They weren't there. And I looked and looked and looked, and then I got a map and I looked at it, but the print was very small because I don't know if you've heard, but this show is big. It is very big. If you take the size of the main floor of the Detroit Auto Show, that is comparable to one of the 4 clover leafs at the Shanghai Auto Show. And you're like, wow, it's 4 times the size. Sorry, I wasn't clear. There's 3 floors of the cloverleaf. So 2 of
what
them.
What does it mean? The article says it almost didn't matter that Tesla was MIA. What does that mean? Like, are they referring to the fact that the Chinese brought their A games? That's what really matters, and it doesn't matter if Tesla wasn't there, or that Tesla doesn't need to be there?
Yeah, close to 1 million people will have been to the show. Poke around, thousands of new cars, more than 1,000 different companies. Some of them there's a whole floor for parts and suppliers and tech companies that are not necessarily car builders. But what it means is they're still selling like crazy, and they don't have a new product to show. If they had, I expected them to be there with an Optimus and a Cybercab. They weren't. So that was kind of surprising to me. But what do you think it means? Why would Tesla choose not to go to this show?
I really don't understand why they don't go, but we've heard from Elon several times, right? That they're very careful about where they spend the money. And maybe they think that this show, which isn't, who are you catering to here? It's not necessarily the consumers. It's more like the other vendors themselves, partners. They don't need to be at this show for any other reason. Versus maybe, how when you go to these shows, oftentimes they are, like when I've been to them, they are meeting, you just meet and meet. Executives meet with other executives and you strike partnerships. And that's, so if you're desperate and you need to find a partner and you're trying to convince people that you're a real deal, you want to make a showing of it. But I don't know. This is interesting.
I would add, so China's seen a big shift in the last, I don't know when the shift happened. When I was in any tourist area, it looked like I had walked into the middle of an Instagram convention because all of these people, beautiful young ladies, beautiful young men, beautiful middle-aged people, beautiful old people, they've all got their cameras out. Sometimes they've got friends or photographers. Everything they do is framed and it's beautiful. It is, influencers are very big in China.
I think they messed up. Tesla could have been there, you're saying. Yeah.
I'm saying they knew that the influencers would not be swayed by what they had to bring. Unless the influencers could have been permitted to sit in a Cybercab, it wouldn't have worked. I'm saying that the influencers were there to see the many flying cars that were on display. And I mean many, for no reason. There were companies that brought out their humanoid robots, except that it's a lot cooler when you don't notice the guy behind it with the remote controller. That's puppeteering. That's not the same thing. I think it was 2 things. It was the corporate meet and greet, which Tesla doesn't need, and the influencer brigade, which Tesla knew they would be unlikely to participate in.
Don't they sometimes also don't show up at the Detroit Auto Show?
When you say sometimes, do you mean almost always or always?
Is that right? Well, I guess there was like one year that there was this rumor that, oh my God, they're coming this year. And I forgot that Did they end
It
up
was
not going?
announced, and then Tesla said, "No, we're not." And
That's what
so
I mean.
the
Yeah.
Detroit Auto Show
Yeah.
purchased 2 or 3 Teslas to give test rides so they could go, "No, no, what we
That's what
meant
we meant.
was."
Yeah.
'Cause I
Okay.
asked the guy, I'm like, "Are you a Tesla employee?" He's like, "No, no, I work for the Detroit Auto Show."
Yeah. So
Where'd
I
you get
think
the
that
card?
there's this general sense that Tesla does not need to do these things. They don't do these things. They don't want to spend money on things that they don't feel is going to return an investment. Even, this whole advertising thing.
Well, let's talk about this. Like it or not, new Model Y is a big hit in China. Registrations are picking up once more, with numbers rising 77.5% in the week ending April 27th. Uh, how can this be? I thought it was the end of the road. Did I
Exactly.
misunderstand?
It's a surprise, out of surprise, out of surprise. Obviously, it's Tesla already, so they've got good intentions here. But other media has been just saying the wrong things over and over and over again. They've been saying how Tesla sales have dropped, not mentioning that there's a changeover. This
Mhm.
new Model Y is a big hit. The old Model Y was and is still a big hit. This is going to be a bigger hit than the old Model Y. I think it's much better in so many ways. They hit it out of the park. Honestly, this is going to do really, really well. So I think we're going to start seeing record numbers once they get fully up to scale.
And I would say the car is only better in all the ways that matter.
Hmm.
It has got a softer ride. It has got a more planted ride. It has got a quieter ride. Uh, it's literally better in every way, specifically the ways that if I could wave a magic wand and fix everything I don't like about my 2023 Model Y, it
Mhm.
would be the Juniper. That's just it. So it is good to know that this that is, to me, part of the answer to the question, why were they not at the auto show? They've got one new real exciting product and it's already sufficiently exciting, and going to the auto show is not going to make it more exciting. So then we've got this story here. This is as of yesterday. We are recording this on Wednesday. Why Tesla stock rose for the sixth straight day. Why robots matter more than tariffs. Is that true?
What, robots matter more than tariffs? I don't know. I don't think so. No, tariffs is short term. Yep. They said it there, the short term impact of tariffs and the longer term impact of robots. I don't believe that the investors have caught on yet and are willing to pile in to invest in Tesla because of robots. I don't think that that moment hasn't happened yet. I interviewed Chris Camillo. Chris Camillo is one of the legendary investors. He took $20,000, made it to 60 million. He's written books. He's been, heralded as somebody who can really sense the timing, and he's about to invest heavily in Tesla sometime this year. He put in a core position after the earnings call, and he thinks that sometime at the end of this year, that's when big money is going to wake up and realize that the opportunity for humanoid robots is near. And that's when he'll see the stocks jump. That's his position. That's what he thinks. I agree with him. I don't think that people are buying Tesla stock hand over fist because of the robot opportunity quite yet.
Well,
Um,
I think
yeah.
if Tesla stock really was a good investment, wouldn't we see someone on the board of directors buying some with their own cash?
Sure, but I think that that one has a is just a little small amount of money, right? Joe Gebbia of the Airbnb co-founder put in bought $1 million worth of stock, but he's a multi-billionaire. So I think that's more of a symbolic thing than means something necessarily. But
Uh, it's tough to say. It's tough to say. You do see regular articles from the people who despise Tesla pointing out that Robin Denholm has sold her shares.
yeah.
Right.
But
That's
let's be
routine.
very, very clear what's happening there. Alexander Mertz does a great job of explaining this, right? 5 years ago, people like Robin Denholm and other board members were issued stock options, and
Hmm.
so what they do is when it comes time, if you don't buy them, you lose them. So you have to actually uh, buy the stock options, turn them into shares, but then you have to pay taxes on them because there's a gain. So
Hmm.
what happens is you have to sell some of the shares. So whenever they
A
announce
third
Robin
at
Denholm
least.
sold stocks, what they haven't shown you yet is a few days later they're going to show how that she bought the stock,
How
and
she
then you
exercised the option
to buy the
and
stock. Yeah,
sold shares
yeah,
sufficient to cover the
yeah.
tax
So
liability,
many
just like Elon
times
did.
right? It looks like there's reasons why people sell, or there's these, what you would do, right? You would have these set schedule every quarter. I'm always going to sell just a little bit so I can have cash on my hand. When you look at the sheer amount of shares these guys have, it's like, why wouldn't you sell some to do this? So, I never really, when you look at these insiders buying and selling, it certainly is a signal, but it's more like you've got to be very clear. These aren't just regular scheduled option trading, stock options maturing kind of scenarios. If they're selling like crazy, like Uber guy did, sold the he kept these almost two-thirds of his shares in the last year. That's when you start thinking about this stuff. Why is he selling so much right when, you can ask these questions? But that's not what I'm seeing with board members. I do know that this is a big concern by investors. They always say, why is the board members all selling all the time and the executives? So I think that this move by Joe Gebbia, the board member, buying just a small amount, just one thing to to kind of address that Tesla Q story. Could be.
I will add two things to that. The first is Robin Denholm always sells her shares because she wants to
Yeah.
act in the best interest, and she feels that that's the way to do it. Mary Barra also sells her shares the day she gets them, and no one bats an eye. And then if you look at someone like Kimball Musk, every time he sells, which is routinely every 3-4 months, he has a scheduled sale. You cannot avoid the headlines where people say, this means something. He knows it's going down. Guys, he was selling shares 10x ago.
Yeah.
So he does not know if he knows which direction the stock is heading, he don't care. So let's get on to our final story. This is exciting. Tesla's in worse shape than you think. Look at this fear and greed index up here.
Mhm. Mhm.
We're at 32 on the very scientific CNN fear and greed index. That must mean a thing. Did you know that there was a 71% drop in net income, which is, of course, mentioned without context? Only able to post 400 and not only able to post $400 million in profit, thanks to the sale of regulatory credits. Why do we keep pretending these are not real money when they're real money? And sales are falling partly due to rising competition. Is that why sales were down in Q1, Herbert?
That's what they tell me.
Oh,
That
then it must, what?
nobody wants everybody wanted to buy a Model Y, but they didn't build them, and so sales went down.
No, no, that's
Danny,
not it. That's not
that's
it.
not
They could have sold things that they didn't have. Well, yeah,
it.
but
Yeah,
when
yeah.
Ford retools, we don't notice a dip in their consumer
Well, yeah,
sales.
we know why. We know why. Yeah,
We know
because their
why.
inventory is sometimes close to a year. Okay, it's
Yeah.
like 9 months later. So you can the dealer lots is full of these. You can take your time before you introduce a new model. These dealers will sell what's sitting there for as long as they can, a year
Yeah.
sometimes, 6 months longer. So
I would like to address this. What was not discussed was the fact that the Trump's administration wants to get rid of the federal emissions rules
mm,
that creates the ZEV credits in the first place, that makes the ZEV credits tradable in the first place. Have you heard anything about that? Because I haven't.
I have no idea what's going to end
Yeah.
up happening. How long it will take?
Well,
Who's going to have
well,
to?
I'm
Congress needs to jump in. What's going to happen? I don't know.
also, this is my favorite profit margin shrivel. Oh my gosh. It was only what 16.3 on gap or non this is saying the margin was 12.5%, down from a record high of 30% during lockdown, during I guess the tail end of COVID, when they were the only company actually making cars and selling them. Uh, how many automakers would
Make
murder their
double
own
digits.
family to get into double digits? Would
Exactly.
would personally drown a puppy to get to double digits? This is pretty
Yeah.
ridiculous, and I don't. So I guess if I'm reading that article correctly, should I be afraid?
No, of course not. But you can look at any number you want to look at, and you can make up your stories that you wish to look at. Right? We've had Tesla bulls come out and saying, "Yeah, I don't see the car business growing anymore," but they don't talk about is robotaxi real or not real? That's really the goal. The goal is full self driving going to drive more car sales? Are there going to be more affordable vehicles coming online? And I mean, yeah, is this a car company or not a car company? And why is the profit down? Where are they spending the money on? Ask yourself that
Yeah.
question.
The fact that we had the
Supercomputers?
perfect storm
Mm,
of bad news between economic headwinds, all the factories retooling, a shift in sentiment to the downside for Elon himself, and the company
yeah.
still was in double digits profit should tell you that
Yeah,
things are
there's a Tesla bull who made a big deal about selling all their stock. Great, you should do that. No one saying you shouldn't
right.
do whatever you want to do. But I just found it interesting that it sold it now when what do you should have sold it 6 months ago, a year ago. You should have sold it 2 years ago, sold it 3 years
January
ago
1st would
because
have been good. Yeah.
uh, car business is struggling. The economy went down. The recession, where a lot of people think we're already in a recession. Interest rates skyrocketed. Anybody want to get into an auto business, you should have gone out, and a lot of people did. But why
Mhm.
do you do it today, which is like months away from a month away from the actual robotaxi and bots? So if you just look at the car business, yeah, all that is correct. Those are factual numbers. Yeah.
Very, very weird all around. Guys, what did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Check out Herbert's channel, see what he's up to. Everybody else, subscribe. For the love of all that's holy, please subscribe and stay tuned, stay juicy. I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots, on the flippity flop.